Welcome back to Arts and Minds Online. Arts and Minds, as you know, is an art program for people living with dementia and their caregivers. We used to meet in person on Wednesdays. We hope to be able to do that again someday. But right now, this is the way we're meeting online. And this is a way for us to keep in touch with you and to give you some ideas that you might use at home, some art ideas with materials that hopefully you might have on hand. All right. So this is our third session. The first session we did 3 sheep. For that we used watercolor crayons. Our second session we did an early spring scene in the Gatineau. And let me just go back to the reference here. We did an early spring scene in the Gatineau, and for that we used markers and colored pencils. Today we're doing this. We're sort of leaping into flower season here, and we've got this vase with a bunch of bright and cheerful, happy-looking flowers to brighten your day. This is what we're going to be doing today. So you have a choice of materials and the things that you're going to need, and that will be up on your screen. You can choose to use watercolor crayons if you have them. You could use ordinary crayons as well. Watercolor crayons are a good idea. You can use colored pencils for this, or you can use, as I did with this one, watercolor paints. Watercolor paints, you can get them in tubes like this, or you can get them in sets like this, watercolor paints. And that's what I'm going to use with this today. So as well as the medium that you're going to choose, you are also going to need paper. If you are using anything with water, like the watercolor crayons or the watercolor paints, then you really do need to have watercolor paper. Otherwise, it buckles on you. And if you're using watercolor paper, then you should tape it down like this to a hard surface. Otherwise, it tends to buckle on you and bend. And so this keeps the paper very flat. So you need the paper, you need it taped. If you're using colored pencils, you can just use ordinary paper, it doesn't matter. You need a pencil, you need a palette. If you're using watercolor paints, you need a palette like this, or just a plate to put your paints on. You need a brush, and you need a container of water, and you need a piece of paper towel. So if you've decided what you want to use, then this is a good time for you to pause and come back when you're ready, and we'll start the painting. Okay, this is our reference. We'll come back to this. It will be on your screen from time to time as well, and we'll come back to it. But right now, let's take a look at the line drawing that we'll use for today. So let's just go over some of the details on this. This is a vase. I like this shape of vase. You can, as I say, it's your painting, so you can do, whatever shape of vase you like. I like this sort of round shape. The vase is sitting on a table and not on the edge of the table, so the table's back. The edge is back here. This line just shows the reflection. You don't need to do this. This just shows the reflection on the table. So then you can decide how you want your flowers and what kind of flowers you like. There don't have to be these. I don't think these are a particular type of flower. It's just a little shape that I rather like. So this is what I did. You can have different shapes, different kinds of flowers. It's your picture. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. And then put in some leaves. All right. So with your pencil and your paper, pause now, and this will be on the screen, and do your drawing and come back when you're ready. Okay, So we're ready to paint. And as I mentioned, I'm going to use watercolor paints. I should also mention that I put these in a few minutes ago, so I hope they're still fairly wet. One thing you can do if you're using watercolor is if you have a little spray bottle like this, it keeps the paints moist. Right, I think they're moist enough, I hope, because if I tried to do that now, I'd either have it all over me or I'd have it all over you. So anyway, it's a good idea to keep the paints moist. All right, I'm going to start with this flower here. And I've decided that I would like to make it pink. You can do solid colors, you can mix your paints, you can do what you like, but I'm going to make this pink. So in order to do that, I'm going to mix some white and some red. Right. So I'm going to dab my brush in the water. You can't see this, but trust me, that's where it is. Get it a bit wet. Dab it on the towel so it's not soaking. Take a little bit of white. Okay. Clean your brush. Don't go from one color to the next. Clean your brush. Then get a little bit of red and put it in. A little bit more maybe, until you get just the intensity that you want. Like so. Okay, so I've got that ready. And what I'm going to do now that I've got that on my brush, I'm just going to put that down for a second, and I am going to turn this on my own camera crew here today. I'm just going to turn this so that I can't be a lot closer, but it's facing the picture a little more directly, I think. We'll come back in a second. So, all right, we're going to start with this petal and just go around the edge, just like so. I'm not going to fill it all in. I'm just going to go around the edge like that. Okay. Then I'm going to clean my brush, clean it quite well, tap it on the paper. Then I'm going to come back here and drag some of that paint down. Drag it down so that we're actually taking some of the paint away. So it's still dark on the edges, but then it gets lighter as we get towards the center. I'm going to do that with each one. And I've still got some pink here on my palette, so I'm going to go again around. I need a little bit more red on that. You can keep making things a bit darker, hard to go a bit lighter. And now again, and pull the paint so that you just get a bit of it. It gets lighter and lighter in here and still stays dark on the edge. Okay. I'll just keep going around that whole flower here. Oops. Okay. Keep your brush clean in between each of these. And then pull it, just so you're pulling paint off, actually. In the middle, and one more petal. Again, cleaning my brush, and then pulling the paint again. It's hard to paint. Watercolor it would normally be flat, not up like this. Let's keep our fingers crossed so it doesn't just run right off the page here. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I think what I might do is just maybe put a little bit more, a little darker on the edges. Okay, I think that's good. I'm leaving the center. I'm not going to do the center now. We'll come back to that. We'll do those when these dry a bit. So, all right, let's do one more flower. This one. This time, you can see I'm going to use, I'm going to make purple. I'm going to use some red, and some blue. I'm also going to start again with some white, just because that might give me the shade that I want. So, okay, we have the white, and tap it, put a bit of red, tap it, put a bit of blue. Oops. There we go. Oh, that's quite nice. That's quite a nice purple. All right. So, as before, go around the edge. Tap it in the water to clean it and get it a bit dry. And then pull it again. All right, you might just keep going with that. I'll mix up a little more paint here. I don't have quite enough. Okay. All right. I'm going to try and do 2 petals at once here and see if that works for us. Dry your brush a bit on the paper towel. If you're using watercolor sort of for the first time, just experiment with it a bit. Experiment on a piece of paper first, and then see what it does. And again, as I say, if you want to just do, I'm going to do both those. If you want to make your flowers just one solid color, that's fine too. So it's wet. Okay, I'm pulling them again. Pulling it again. I maybe not have quite enough paint on here. Okay. I'm going to just go back. Okay. And I'm just going to put a little bit darker around the edge here. Whoops, that went maybe a little bit too dark, but I don't think it was quite dark enough. Let me just do that. And now we'll try and blend that. I think that's better. It was just a little bit too light, I think. Pulling it down, pull it towards the center. And leave the center. Leave some white in the center, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so then do the rest of your flowers. You don't have to mix colors. As I say, you can do solid colors, whatever you fancy. I'm going to do one of these flowers using the watercolor crayon, just to show you how the effect of that. And I'm just going to do just a solid color here. And again, there you go. Because these are watercolor crayons, now you add water the same as you do with paint, and you get that same effect. Get that watercolor effect, which is very nice. I like these watercolor crayons, actually. If you use ordinary crayons, I mean, you can't add this water, but you can certainly get a nice effect with them too. Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave the flowers for now, but I am going to do just one leaf. And again, with the leaf, I'm going to use a bit of lemon yellow. I'm getting a very dirty palette here. A bit of lemon yellow and a bit of green to get the green color that I want. Okay. You should never let your palette get this dirty. It's dirty. All right. All right. There's a green that I like. Anyway, I'm just going to do one leaf, so I don't need a lot of paint here. And again, I'm going to sort of go down one side Let's go down one side and then do the same technique with this. Pull the paint so that you get a little bit darker and then it starts to get a little lighter over here. Put a little more green in that, not quite enough. Keep the brush clean, keep it dried off, and then pull it again. So as you say, you know, it looks awkward at the moment, but you play around with that and until you get the effect that you want. So this is a good time now to take a long break and color your flowers. We're going to do the vase afterwards. You're just doing the flowers and the leaves right now. Okay, so take a pause. Okay, you happy with what you did? I'm just going to move this back now. And now we're going to do the vase. We're going to use the sort of same technique, but this time we're going to use colors and make them a little bit wetter so that they're going to blend together. So I'm going to start with blue. I'm just going to take it just out of where the blue is. I'm not going to put it in the center. I'm just going to start with blue and just, whoops. If you can see on the reference, you can see how many different colors there are on that. I'm going to take a look at it in a minute. So some blue, mix the blue. I'm going to mix a little bit of white with that. It's coming a little bit too dark from my liking. My paints are getting a bit dry, but I really don't want to squirt them. Oh, there we go. All right, now I've got a better blue. Okay, so I'll put, and it doesn't matter where you put these colors. Something like this. And at the bottom. Yeah, like so. Maybe just a bit darker here, a bit darker on the bottom. Maybe a little bit of dark here and along the edge. I want to go back to some pink in here and let them bleed together. Let them run together like this. So a little bit of that green. I mean, this is, yeah, it's just, as I say, I mean, if you don't want to make a multicolored vase, don't. Put a little bit of yellow in there. Yeah, I think that's good. And while we have it, while we're still working on this and the paints are still a bit wet, because this is a reflection, I'm going to put some of that down here as well. Some of the blue. Some of the pink. And maybe a bit of green. Okay, just want to take a look at the reference for a second. Yeah, okay, all right. You can see how we mix the colors there. All right, I'm fairly satisfied with that. Okay, before we forget, we need to go back and put the centers in. With the center, you can put whatever you like. This is not a particular type of flower. It's a makeup. So you can have yellow centers if you like. Um, you can have darker centers like that. You can put whatever you like, whatever seems to fit with yours. Okay. Um, so now's a good time to pause and finish off your vase, your reflection, and the centers of your flowers. Okay, now it's time to sort of take a look at it. I'm coming back to the reference here for a minute. Um, when you sort of sit back and take a look at it, and you might decide, well, maybe the flowers aren't standing out enough, and so you might want to outline them. If you've got a thin marker, you could do that. You might also, when I looked at mine when I first did it, I thought there wasn't maybe enough green, but if you think there is, that's fine. But you might want to just add a little bit of sort of yellow green, right? As I did in the thing. Just they're not drawn leaves, but just like so, just sort of a hint of a leaf there. You might want to add a little bit of green in here, just sort of background green, okay? as I did in the reference. Okay. So when you're all done and you're satisfied with it, oh, maybe you should pause right now and just have a look at it and see if there's any sort of final things that you want to do. We'll talk about this message in a minute, but if there's any final things you want to do, now's the time to do it. So take a little pause. Okay, your masterpiece is done, almost. You need to sign it. You need to put the date. And what I want to do with this is I want to take a photograph of this and send it to my friends. And I wanted to put a message on it. And it's sort of by way of sending an e-card to them. So you might want to put a message that just says, stay safe. When I did this, and I thought, well, you know, maybe it should be a little bit bigger. So you might want to make a bigger message on yours. You might even want to use paint to do it. Something like stay well, take care. A message that's appropriate for the times that we're going through right now. And then maybe you could take a photograph of yours and send it to your friends and maybe back to us so that we'd have a chance to take a look at it too. Another idea for this might also be, if you have a window in your house, if you have a window that looks out onto the street, it might be an idea to make a message in sort of bigger letters and put it in your window for people to see as they pass by. So that's it. That's our flowers, our sort of bright and cheerful flowers, and our message. And my message for you today is stay safe.